He had everything: a powerful empire, a perfect family, or so he thought. But when Samuel Grayson's world is shattered by a shocking secret about his daughter and wife, he's forced to confront the truth that could destroy everything he's worked for. What happens next will leave you speechless. Samuel Grayson stood at the large window of his penthouse, staring out at the bustling city below. His thoughts were clouded, as they often were lately, with the weight of his empire. The city lights twinkled, reflecting his success, but tonight, the view felt different. Something was off. Despite all his accomplishments as the CEO of Grayson Enterprises, the global tech giant he had built from scratch, Samuel couldn't shake the feeling that he was losing the most important part of his life. His family. His wife, Elena, had been distant for months, and their daughter, Ava, now a teenager, seemed to be drifting away. The once vibrant home that echoed with laughter and love now felt like an empty shell, a place where silence loomed larger than words. Their relationship had changed so much, and Samuel didn't know how to fix it. He had thrown himself into his work, pouring every ounce of energy into growing his business, believing that if he worked harder, everything else would fall into place. But it hadn't. The constant late nights, the endless meetings, the international deals, they all consumed him, leaving little room for his family. He couldn't remember the last time they had sat down together for dinner, let alone had a conversation that didn't revolve around his business. Elena, once his equal, now seemed like a stranger, and Ava, the child he had raised, barely spoke to him anymore. Samuel's heart tightened. He had been so focused on building his empire, so blind to the world that really mattered, and now his family was falling apart right before his eyes. The breaking point. It was late evening when Samuel finally came home after another exhausting day at the office. His mind was still buzzing with business deals. But as soon as he stepped inside the door of his penthouse, the silence hit him like a wave. Elena was sitting on the couch, reading a book, and Ava was in the living room, glued to her phone. There was no greeting, no warmth, just cold, distant air that seemed to hang between them. For a moment, Samuel stood in the doorway, trying to collect his thoughts. He had so much to say, but nothing felt right. He had built an empire, but what had it all been for if he had lost his family along the way? Finally, he spoke, his voice carrying the frustration he had buried for months. "Elena, we need to talk." She looked up, her face tired, her eyes unreadable. "About what?" she asked softly. "This. Us." Samuel's voice grew louder. "This house, this family, it's falling apart. I can't keep pretending everything is fine, but you don't seem to care. I'm working my ass off, making sure we have everything we could ever need, and this is what I get in return: silence, distance, coldness. What happened to us?" Elena closed her book, her face calm, but there was a deep sadness in her eyes. "What do you expect, Samuel? You're never here. You're always working, always busy with your empire. We've been drifting for so long, and you haven't even noticed." Samuel's frustration boiled over. "I've been working for us, for this family." His voice rose, but his chest tightened with the realization that maybe Elena was right. He had been so caught up in his business, he had stopped seeing the people who mattered most. Ava, sitting quietly on the couch, now looked up, her face expressionless. "You never have time for me either, Dad," she said quietly. "I don't even remember the last time we did something together. It's like I don't exist for you anymore." Her words hit him like a punch in the gut. "What are you talking about, Ava?" Samuel asked, his voice softer now. "You're always working," she replied. "And when you're home, you're distracted. It's like we're invisible. I don't even know who you are anymore." Samuel felt a sting of guilt, but his anger flared again, making him lash out. "I'm doing this for you, for both of you. Do you think this business runs itself? Do you think the money just appears? I'm doing all of this to make sure you have everything you need, everything you want." Elena sighed, shaking her head. "You think we want your money, Samuel? We want you. We need you here with us. Samuel stared at her for a moment, the words sinking in deeper than he expected. The reality of what he had been neglecting hit him hard. But before he could respond, he was interrupted by his own words. "I'm done. I can't keep doing this," he said, his tone firm but tinged with regret. "I'm done being blamed for everything. You both don't understand what it's like to work like I do." The breaking point, the final words. In a fit of rage, Samuel's anger flared once more. "You know what? I'm done with this. Both of you leave. Get out. I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to keep trying when no one else cares." The words felt like a slap to the face. Elena stood in stunned silence, unable to believe what he had just said. Ava stood up, tears brimming in her eyes, but she didn't speak. The hurt in their faces was almost more than Samuel could bear, but his pride wouldn't let him take the words back. The weight of his anger, the disappointment, the guilt. Everything crashed down on him at once. "Leave," he repeated, his voice low and shaking. "Just go." Without another word, Elena walked slowly toward the door, Ava close behind her. The sound of the door closing behind them felt like the end of everything. Samuel stood in the middle of the penthouse, the once beautiful home, now feeling cold and empty. He had told them to leave, but deep down, he wasn't sure if he could ever make it right. Hooked for the next part. But as the night stretched on, Samuel found himself sitting in the silence of his massive penthouse, staring at the letter Elena had left behind. The words she had written seemed to burn into his mind, and as he read them again, a shocking truth emerged, one that would change everything. What he thought he knew about his family was about to be completely turned upside down, and the consequences of his actions were only beginning to unfold. Samuel sat on the edge of the couch, the letter from Elena still in his hands. The room around him felt colder, emptier than it ever had before. His family was gone. He had pushed them away in a fit of rage, convinced that they didn't understand the pressure he was under. But now, as he read Elena's words again, a sinking feeling grew in his chest. He hadn't even known the full truth of his own family. He thought he had everything under control, but in one night, it all seemed to crumble. The letter Elena had left behind wasn't just about their marriage or her feelings. There was something much deeper, something Samuel hadn't expected to hear. As he reread her words, they became clearer. "Samuel, there's something I've kept from you, something important, something that changes everything you think you know about our family." The letter began. "Ava is not your biological daughter. She is ours, mine and your late brother's. I never wanted to tell you. I feared it would hurt you, but I can't keep this secret anymore. I hope you can understand. She has always been yours, in every other way that matters, and you have raised her as your own." Samuel's heart raced. His mind spun with disbelief. His brother, the one who had died in a tragic accident years ago, how could this be? He had loved Ava like his own daughter. He had always thought she was his. But now, this changed everything. His brother's death, his absence from their lives. It had left a gaping hole. But this letter made it clear. It wasn't just the absence of his brother Samuel felt. It was a secret. The revelation about Ava's true paternity was like a punch to the gut. But as he stared at the letter, he realized that it didn't change his love for her. He had raised her, protected her, and loved her for years. She was still his daughter, in every way that mattered. Shaken, Samuel put the letter down and grabbed his phone. His hands were unsteady as he dialed Elena's number. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. No answer. He left a message, his voice barely a whisper. "Elena, please come home. I need to talk to you. I know I've made mistakes, but I need to understand. I'm so sorry." The guilt that had settled in his chest grew heavier. He had thrown them out, only to learn that the very thing he had taken for granted, the foundation of his family, was built on a secret that now seemed to have destroyed everything. The unexpected visitor. That night, as Samuel sat alone in the darkened penthouse, the weight of the world on his shoulders, there was a sudden knock at the door. His heart skipped a beat. He wasn't expecting anyone, certainly not Elena or Ava. But as he opened the door, he was met with an unexpected sight. Standing before him was a tall man, dressed in a sharp suit, his face hidden behind dark sunglasses. The man looked out of place, like someone who didn't belong in Samuel's world of wealth and power. But there was something familiar about him, something that sent a chill down Samuel's spine. "Mr. Grayson," the man said, his voice calm, almost rehearsed. "I think you and I need to have a conversation." Samuel took a step back, confusion written across his face. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice shaking. The man removed his sunglasses, revealing piercing blue eyes that seemed to study Samuel with unsettling precision. "I'm here because of Ava," he said simply. The mention of his daughter made Samuel's heart race. "Ava? What do you know about her?" The man's lips curled into a small, knowing smile. "I know everything, Mr. Grayson, and I think you'll want to hear what I have to say." The unexpected twist. The man introduced himself as Richard Matthews, a private investigator hired by Elena's late brother, the very brother Samuel had lost all those years ago. But the true twist was yet to come. "Your brother," Richard began, taking a seat across from Samuel, wasn't just a family member. He was involved in a lot of things you didn't know about. Elena kept his secrets, hoping to protect you and Ava from the truth. But when he passed away, everything changed. Samuel's mind raced. "What are you talking about? What secrets? What does this have to do with Ava?" Richard leaned forward, his voice low and serious. "Your brother was involved in some shady business deals. He had enemies, people who didn't want him around. The night he died, it wasn't an accident. It was planned. And those people, Mr. Grayson, are still out there." Samuel's head spun as the weight of Richard's words hit him. His brother had been murdered? How could that be? And what did this have to do with Ava's paternity? Richard continued. "Elena knew the truth. She knew the danger Ava would be in if anyone discovered her connection to your late brother's past. So she made the choice to protect her. She kept Ava's true father a secret, telling you only part of the truth, hoping you'd accept her as your own." Samuel felt like the ground had shifted beneath his feet. Not only had his family been keeping a secret, but now it seemed there were darker forces at play. Ava, his beloved daughter, was caught in the middle of something far more dangerous than he could ever have imagined. The devastating revelation. Samuel's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of his phone ringing. He answered it quickly, hoping it was Elena calling to explain everything. But it wasn't. It was a call from his lawyer, someone he had trusted for years. The lawyer's voice was grave. "Samuel, I need to tell you something. There's been a development with your company's stock. Someone's been leaking insider information to your competitors, and I'm afraid it's someone very close to you." Samuel's stomach dropped as the pieces began to fall into place. The tension between him and his family, the sudden betrayal, the secrets. Was it all connected? "Who is it?" he asked, his voice shaking. The lawyer hesitated before responding. "It's Elena. She's been working with someone who's been sabotaging Grayson Enterprises. She didn't want you to know, but we've uncovered the truth." Samuel sat back in shock. His wife, the woman he had loved for so many years, had been secretly working against him. He couldn't comprehend it. Had everything been a lie? The shocking conclusion. As the truth came crashing down on Samuel, he realized that everything he had built, his empire, his family, was built on lies. The devastating revelation about his brother, his daughter's paternity, and Elena's betrayal left him shattered. He had pushed his family away, thinking they were the problem, but now he saw the full scope of the deceit. But there was one thing Samuel knew for sure. He couldn't let the past define him. Despite everything that had happened, he would fight for his family, for Ava, for the truth. The road ahead would be difficult, but Samuel Grayson was about to uncover every secret, no matter the cost. And in the end, he would discover whether family could truly survive betrayal and whether redemption was possible after everything had been broken. Hope for viewer engagement. The shocking truth about Samuel's family has been revealed. But what will he do with the knowledge he's uncovered? The twists and turns have only just begun, and no one is safe. How will Samuel face the betrayal? And can he ever restore what's been lost? Stay tuned for the next chapter.